So you want to make your Doctor Ratio do ridiculous damage.
Do not worry, my friend, I got you covered.
Mr. Super Genius Ratio here is a hunt follow-up attacker that increases his own damage based on the number of debuffs his enemies have. So the closer everyone is to throwing up all over the floor, the better. So obviously he likes having debuffers, aka Nihility characters, on his team, but we'll get to that in a minute. The main thing you need to know about L+ Ratio is when he uses his skill, he has a chance to launch his follow-up attack. So this isn't exactly reliable because it's only 40%. But if the target is debuffed, that can easily increase up to 100%, and his ultimate essentially marks an enemy, and when anyone hits them, Ratio will follow-up attack, which he can do a grand total of 2 times. So obviously bro likes his follow-up attack and debuffs, and that's what I'm going to focus on with this build. So starting off with his traces, his most important trace is his passive talent, which is his follow-up attack, aka his main damage source. So level that first, then just max out everything else. But if you want, you can just throw his basic attack straight in the trash, because ideally you'll never use it. For his light cones, obviously his signature cone is his best pick, because I mean, this is Honkai Star Rail, but if you don't want to pull for it, because I don't blame you, Topaz's cone, Worrisome Blissful, is a really close second because it focuses on follow-up attacks as well. But if you need a free-to-play option that's easy to get, go for Cruising in the Stellar Sea. This is a Herta shop cone that everyone has access to, so it's an easy S5. Now for his relics, the 4-piece banditry set is ideally what you'd use because it does the exact same thing as one of his main passives, which is increase his crit stats against debuff enemies, which is the whole point of using Ratio. But if you don't want to use 4-piece banditry for some odd reason, you can use 2-piece banditry with 2-piece ash blazing if you want to be special and different. But for his ornaments, you basically only have one option, and that's Inert Sal Soto, because it's literally made for follow-up attackers. Now for main stats, the cookie cutter DPS route of crit body, speed boots, attack rope, and imaginary sphere is what he wants. And for his substats, double crit, attack, and speed are the go-to. And obviously deciding between a crit rate or crit damage body is completely up to you based on which stat you are lacking the most in the substats of your other pieces. Another neat thing about Ratio is his best Eidolons are his E1 and E2. Everything else after that is just kind of okay. His E1 makes him get even more crit against debuffed enemies, and his E2 makes him do more damage against debuffed enemies, so he's pretty budget friendly if you want his Eidolons, and he gets really insane really fast. Now for his team setup, as I mentioned before, he wants a strong debuffer on his team, and your 2 best options for that are Silverwolf and Pela. Obviously, I'd pick Silverwolf because she's ridiculous, but for the rest of your team, you just need a buffer like Ting Yun, Bronya, or anyone that's going to make Ratio hit harder. Then finally, you need a sustain to keep everyone from falling over, so any healer or strong preservation unit fits perfectly here. Now, as far as team rotation goes, you are going to obviously want your debuffer and buffer to go before Ratio to apply all of the things before he actually attacks. But beyond that, everything else is pretty self-explanatory. So yeah, Dr. L+ Ratio is a really simple setup, and once he's built, he'll literally math your enemies to death.